Campbell's with me from Botswana Diamonds. James, nice to see you.
Thank you very much indeed for having me, Andrew.
Might sound a silly question here, but Botswana Diamonds, tell me a bit more about the focus, because it's not just in Botswana.
Absolutely, Andrew. The origin of Botswana Diamonds comes from African Diamonds. African Diamonds' core asset was the AK6 project, which is now the famous Karowe mine owned by Lucara. Botswana Diamonds came from a spinning out of the exploration assets in Botswana to create the new company Botswana Diamonds plc. Subsequent to that spinning out, we've added significant projects in South Africa, and we've signed a joint venture with Vast Resources to take baby steps in Zimbabwe.
Well, you mentioned Vast there. Partnerships are an incredibly important part of the business model.
Absolutely, Andrew. If we look at our partnerships in Botswana, we have a partnership with Alrosa, which is the world's largest producer of diamonds by carats. And that's a really important thing to work together to access their technology and their thinking. We're also partnered with a group called BCL, Bamangwato Concessions Limited in Botswana, which has access to a very, very interesting project in the Central Kalahari. And then moving into South Africa, Botswana Diamonds signed an earn-in agreement with a very strong local group called Vitomi. And that Vitomi has over 50,000 hectares of prospective ground, 20 diamondiferous kimberlites across the whole country. And then thirdly, we've partnered now recently with Vast Resources in Zimbabwe. And you may recall that their origins comes from African Consolidated Resources, who are the discoverers of the Marunji diamond field in eastern Zimbabwe.
Well, just tell me a bit more. Why are these partnerships so important as opposed to having a wholly owned project?
It's all about risk management, Andrew, in that you'll never know everything, nor can you actually fund everything. So you've got to team up with like-minded people who have access to capital and access to technology and have a similar risk approach to yourselves to develop the projects. As you would have seen by us being active across the 3 countries, it's all about a portfolio of projects which we believe each of the projects stands a commercial chance of going all the way through to being a mine.
And speaking of which, developing these projects, what stages are they at?
They vary in stage from very early grassroots project work in Sunland Minerals in the Central Kalahari, where we've already identified very strong geophysical and geochemical targets, which are scheduled for drilling later in the year, and that'll define whether they're kimberlite or not, kimberlite being the host rock for diamonds, all the way through to our most advanced project, which is Thorny River in South Africa, where we've already done a large amount of micro-diamond work and bulk sampling and have grade and diamond value ranges, in addition to having done a technical and economic study on the project.
So fair to say that the big milestone upcoming for these projects is getting a resource around them?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's very much the case. But as we know from an investment perspective, we have mostly retail investors who look very strongly at the discovery stage. And then as we both know that when you get to bankable feasibility, you open up the doors to banks. It's that what we call orphan period of developing a resource that we know we have diamonds. How much are they worth and how many are there is the resource development phase we're looking at right now.
And so you're keen to get a bit more institutional support on board, are you?
Gradually over time, yes. I think it's a very, very important part, and it's a missing piece in the market to a large degree, is where you do go through the inferred, indicated resource stages. We're governed by SAMREC, which we believe to be one of the better codes, and there are things such as you have to recover 300 carats to actually get to an inferred resource, and you have to have a certain degree of confidence in your size and your value estimates.
And you're in London and among meetings talking to institutions. What kind of response have you seen so far?
Actually, it's been a very interesting response. We're hosted by Northland Capital Partners, who are our broker and our nomad, and they set up some fascinating meetings with small cap institutions and retail companies, because what is quite evident is that we fill a missing gap. If you go back to the global financial crisis, there were many, pre the crisis, there were many companies listed on AIM and the TSX who were exploring for diamonds in Botswana and elsewhere. Now, we're the only company, only junior company listed on the market focusing on Southern Africa.
And we're seeing steady growth, of course, more
Yes,
broadly speaking, where diamonds are concerned, and the market itself.
Yes, we are. Yeah, diamonds were the fastest growing, fastest recovered commodity post the global financial crisis. It's been the least volatile out of all the different commodities, and it's expected to continue growing more so than gold and many other commodities going into the future. And that's governed by a supply-demand equation where supply is gradually tailing off. Goes back to my earlier point, nobody's investing in exploration, so there aren't new kimberlites to be found. So supply is tailing off, demand is growing because everybody aspires to buy a diamond when they get engaged, when they get married, and the different lifestyle events, in particular the growth of the middle class and others in the Far East and the Middle East.
Well, excitingly, when do you reckon you might be talking about production here at your most advanced project, Thorny River?
We could potentially be in production by the end of next year. If we own a half of a kimberlite field where we've already done significant technical and geological work, and if we are able to complete that work and consolidate the area, we could well be in production by the end of the year.
Because of course your neighbour's got a processing plant and some of
That's
the other
correct.
Infrastructure required, so that would make the process a lot easier for you.
And also very important from a permitting perspective as
Exactly.
well. It's not just the costs around building a processing plant, but it's the permits around water usage, slime dams, and those kind of things, which do tend to take some time.
So you've got quite a nice portfolio of projects, you reckon?
I believe we're probably well positioned. Southern Africa is one of the largest producing diamond regions in the world, with Botswana and South Africa. We've got a portfolio of projects which span the resource pipeline from early stage actually all the way through to advanced. We've got strong relationships and partners, Alrosa, Vitomi and now Vast, and I think we're well positioned for a commercial discovery in the region.
And as far as the shareholder base is concerned, the board management have quite a significant stake in the
Yes,
business?
we have 20% stake in the company itself. And in fact, when I brought Vitomi into Botswana Diamonds, my colleague John Shelton and we own 30% of Vitomi. So we have significant skin in the game.
And quite a strong following from Dublin.
Absolutely.
In the company.
We're one of what I would call the 162 group of companies, chaired by Dr. John Teeling. He was the founding chairman of the first company that listed on the AIM market, and he has a very strong following in Dublin. It's almost like an incubator for actually bring together ideas, management, seed funding to develop companies all over the world.
You did mention it before, but just before I let you go, in terms of upcoming news flow, well, nail it down. What should we be looking out for from you in the next 6 months?
I think there are a number of things. Firstly, we're going to be announcing mineral chemistry results from our Free State kimberlites. These are, interestingly, kimberlites which were rediscovered by Botswana Diamonds and were mined some 100 years ago. And they stopped being mined before the Great Depression.
Right.
And we found these kimberlites in a library by assessing records, and the mineral chemistry results will talk to us about the diamond potential of the kimberlites. The second thing, in South Africa, we'll be looking at early stage results from Mooikloof. We started to sample that. Moving into Botswana, on our Sunland Minerals joint venture with Alrosa, we plan to undertake drilling on the very exciting targets we outlined in the first half of the year. And then with our Maibury joint venture, which is a joint venture with BCL, there is a prospectus which is very far advanced, and we hope that we can complete the sale of BCL's share in that joint venture, and we can progress that project. And then very finally, we announced the joint venture with Vast Resources in Zimbabwe. We need to get some boots on the ground and do some work.
And a good team to be working with at Vast Resources?
Fantastic, yes. And this all goes back to Roy Pitchford, who was the CEO of Vast before Andrew. And you might not know, but he was chairman of the Zimbabwean Chamber of Mines.
That's right.
So he's got a long history with Zimbabwe, and Andrew's just taken that to the next step, which we're delighted with.
And as far as your commitments are concerned, you're funded for the work that's planned?
Absolutely so, very much so, yes. But like any exploration company, we have to come back to the market from time to time.
James, good to see you. Thanks very much.
And thank you very much indeed, Andrew. Thank you.